And the Nigerian Senate is currently holding a national public hearing on the alteration of Nigeria's 1999 constitution at the International Conference Center, Abuja. And Arise political editor, Somna Sambo, joins us now. Somna, good to have you with us. So far...
Thank you so much.
Our pleasure. So far, have you heard anything by way of proclamation or even argument that you have found particularly striking with regards to this debate that is ongoing?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
What have you found particularly striking in some of the discussions that have been had so far with regards to the public hearing at the conference?
Okay, well, we had this presentation by Obieze Kwesili, representing her Fixed Politics group, which they actually called for Nigerians to actually give room to the National Assembly to also allow for the election of a constituent assembly so that there will be a brand new constitution, because the exercise that's ongoing may not have the total acceptance of all Nigerians. So what she is canvassing right now is for a constituent assembly to be put in place, and once that constituent assembly is put in place, Nigerians can then elect their representatives from the local governments and then states that will now go to that constituent assembly to birth a new constitution, which would eventually supersede the 1999 constitution that we have now, which has always been subject to amendments here and there. So I found that very interesting, because that's what the country has always been doing in the past. If you remember, previously we've always had delegations, even before independence, going to London to represent different segments of the Nigerian communities, and then eventually after independence we had the same thing that birthed the 1963 constitution, and then we also had the same thing that birthed the 1979 constitution, but that didn't happen in 1999. Just a group of eminent Nigerians were put together by the then military regime of General Abdulsalami Abubakar, which eventually birthed the constitution that we operate. Since then, what we've been doing is just having alterations done by the National Assembly, and this is the 5th alteration exercise that's been done by the National Assembly. So she's saying that we should revisit that idea.
Okay, and Somna, I know that the President of the Senate, Senator Ahmed Lawan, opened this public hearing today. There have been divergent views as to the openness of the 9th Assembly to some of these alterations, such as a unicameral legislation. What did the President of the Senate say today? Do you get the sense that, you know, there won't be a brick wall when it comes to effecting all these alterations?
Well, due to the noise there, I couldn't get most of what you said, but I heard a bit of what you said, which is on the openness of the National Assembly, particularly the Senate, to accept some of the recommendations and all of that. Well, one of the critical issues that we are having here is whether the National Assembly has the powers to actually allow for unicameral legislature by itself. Can the National Assembly, for example, decide to put out the Senate, the House of Senate on its own, or does it need to be subject to a referendum, which is not provided for in this constitution? So those are some of the gray areas that, for example, people have been questioning. How can the Senate, which is presiding over this review alongside with the House of Representatives, now agree that the House should be scrapped off? It looks more of like nearly impossible, because majority of senators will never ever vote for the House to be scrapped off, as is being requested by some Nigerians, including eminent Nigerians. And so that's why, if you look at the proposition by the Fixed Politics group, I think it really makes sense that if we have a constituent assembly that's devoid of this National Assembly, it may make much more easier sense. But of course, that constituent assembly has to be the product of this same National Assembly, and it has to be a collective will. So in all, yes, some people have also had problems with the Senate President also kicking against restructuring and saying that the restructuring that has been demanded for by most Nigerians and even governors should start at the state level. So that has made a lot of people to say that, look, they do not have the trust that the Senate will be able to do a good job. But some have also said that the Senate president is just an individual, and so the Senate president's opinion of this ongoing alteration exercise cannot supersede the entire opinion of 108 other members in the House. And so Nigerians should continue to have faith in this process. And some of these issues were actually raised by the Deputy President of the Senate himself. When journalists asked him this question, he said that, look, yes, some Nigerians may not think that there will be an openness due to comment by some senators, but nonetheless, majority of senators and House of Rep members will give Nigerians the best.
Well, Arise News' political editor, Sumner Sambo, there in Abuja. Thank you very much, Sumner.